Upayasaka madama nirvidya nirayagata.
Word to word translation. Atha, therefore, Mai, unto me, Anapainya, without any deviation, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Pakva, free from material contamination, Ashaya, your mind, Upayasata, you will attain, Madham, my abode, Nirvidya, being completely detached, Niraya, from material existence, Ataha, thus, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So translation you just repeat and then I will. Thereafter, you will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me, and be free from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets as well as in hellish planets. You will return home back to Godhead. By the grace of the Lord, the Prachetas were given special facilities. Although they could live millions of years to enjoy material facilities, they still would not be deviated from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Being thus fully engaged, the Prachetas would be completely free from all material attachments. Material attachment is very strong. During one lifetime, a materialist engaged in acquiring land, money, friends, society, friendship, love, and so on. He also wants to enjoy the heavenly planets after the annihilation of the body. If one is engaged in devotional service, however, he becomes unattached to all kinds of material enjoyment and suffering. In the material world, those who are elevated to the higher planetary system are supposed to enjoy all material facilities, whereas those degraded to the lower planetary system are supposed to live in a hellish condition. A devotee, however, is transcendental to both heavenly and hellish condition. According to Bhagavad Gita 14.26, a devotee's position is described in this way. Mamchayo avicharena bhakti yogena sevate sargunan samniyana brahma bhuyaya tattvate. One who engages in a full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. A devotee is always situated on the Brahman platform. He has nothing to do with the material happiness or distress. When one is strongly fixed in devotional service and free from all material attachment, uncontaminated by the modes of material nature, he becomes fit to return home back to Godhead. Although by special blessing the Prachetas would enjoy material facilities for millions of years, they would not be attached to them. Thus, at the end of their material enjoyment, they would be promoted to the spiritual world and return to Godhead. The word Pakva Gunashaya has special significance because it means that by devotional service one is able to give up the influence of the three modes of material nature. As long as one is influenced by the modes of material nature, he cannot return to Godhead. It is clearly explained that all the planets in the material world, beginning from the Brahman Loka down to the hellish planet, are unfit places for a devotee. Padam padam yat viltadam natisham. A place where there is a danger at every step is certainly not a comfortable place. The Lord therefore says in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Abrahman bhuvana loka punaravartino jana mam petye dukhapateya punarjanmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of miseries, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Thus, there is no profit even if one is promoted to the higher planets in the material universe, Brahmaloka. However, if one is somehow or other promoted to the abode of the Lord, he never returns to this material world. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svarupa Padamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Paramalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sarana Ratmatam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sakala Shri Krishna Parama Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Veshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gauragovinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcome to our Sunday feast. So we are reading from Canto 4, chapter 30th, text number 18. The translation. Thereafter, that means there is a connection between the previous show. We'll come back to that. You will develop unadulterated devotional service unto me and be free from all material contamination. At that time, being completely unattached to the material enjoyment in the so-called heavenly planets, as well as in the hellish planets, you will return home back to Godhead. So now, who is speaking this shloka and to whom is speaking? So, who is speaking this shloka? Lord Vishnu. Very good. And to whom is speaking? Prachitas. So let's have some quick background because it is always better that. So we get the background and then we'll have some context here. So you know the the sons of Prachina Vishnu, they are called as Prachitas. So they are in number 10. So they were asked to perform the penances before they start their activities. So what was the activity given by their father? That to have the progeny, to create the progeny in this material world. And then before that he asked, but before you start activity, you go and do tapasya. Now how many years did they do tapasya? They did for 10,000 years. Now, so that time it is a Satyaloka, so the lifespan of the human beings was for 100,000 years. That's 1 lakh. And they did tapasya for 10,000 years. So that means the ratio is 1/10. And if you apply the same ratio, so before we get married or before we get job, so we have to do how many years of tapasya? 10 years. So 1/10 of our lifespan. So if we live for 100 years, assume that we don't know corona what will do, but assume that so 1/10 means 10 years we have to do austerities before even you start job or before you get married. Are we doing all those things? It's very difficult, but we have to find. And they went under ocean. Now there is no ocean, and then of course all those things. So, but somehow, by the mercy of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, we don't have to 10 years of tapasya. We will be already tapasya by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Of course, not going underwater or doing tapasya, but very happily, joyfully chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, and which is the Kali Yuga Dharma, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Whatever that they attain the results of by doing tapasya and the previous yuga, the same thing will be attained by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So they were asked to go and do tapasya. So on the way, it happened that they met Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva gave them Rudra Gita. They said that you have to chant this Rudra Gita, the song, the glorification of Lord Krishna. So they went under lake and they did tapasya. And at the end of 10,000 years, what happened? They had face-to-face direct darshan of Lord Vishnu. And then Lord Vishnu appeared in front of them, and it is mentioned before that a few shlokas that how the Lord's beauty is there. And the Lord appeared in which form? Ashtabhuja, 8 arms, and all 8 arms will be having the different weapons. His transcendental body were covered with pitambari, the yellow clothes. He had a kaustubhamani and garland and effulgence that dissipated all the darkness in this material world. He had a dazzling helmet surrounded by the sages and the demigods. So just on this helmet, recently we had a Ramayana, and we are discussing in Ayodhya. So Valmiki Rishi mentioned that everybody, not only Ayodhya was unconquerable, unpenetrable, the Dashrath Maharaj was such opulent, and the city was such opulent, and the citizens were very opulent, and every citizen has the golden helmet. And today we don't have a golden helmet, but we have different helmets, which we wear while riding the bike. And all the citizens of Ayodhya, they were having all the golden rings, kundala, bracelets, and armlets. So I was thinking where we are. So we don't have the golden kundala, but we have a earphone, so that we put that and we hear the musical sound. So that is the situation, what was in Ayodhya and what we are today. So now, Lord appeared in front of Prachetas, and now he is pleased. So as soon as he appears and he starts speaking, they offer obeisances to Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu says that I am very pleased. Now this is the purpose of life, right? That Haritoshanam. So we have to please Supreme Lord. And now they achieved that. So how did they achieve? What are the characteristics or the qualities that Lord Vishnu mentioned that I am pleased? Because the first thing Lord Vishnu says that because the friendly relationship among themselves. Now, what is the friendly relationship among themselves? The unity of the individual soul attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord. So that is the unity. If we don't have this common goal in the life, then we'll be having, just like Prabhupada is one of the example, that if you drop the stone in the lake, it will create the ripples, right? Now, if every individual, if we go and drop here, one drop there, one drop there, one drop there, then it will create multiple ripples. And that multiple ripples will start penetrating each other, and there will be complete chaotic situation in the society. And that is what exactly we are in this society. But if we have to have unity, friendship, relationship among ourselves, we should have one common purpose. And that one common purpose will come when there is a unity, and the unity for serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. In fact, our founder Acharya is giving this Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada has given very, very wonderful instructions before he left. He said that your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this institution together after I have gone. In fact, it was in Atlanta, around 70s or something. But this, whatever Srila Prabhupada said, it was almost towards the end of his pastimes on this earthly planet was lived. So Srila Prabhupada was in Atlanta during his visit to Atlanta. So he did many things which he hadn't done earlier before. So he gave a drum Mridangam class, and everybody was actually saying that Prabhupada was very pleased. And then afterwards, someone asked Prabhupada, what is it about Atlanta that pleased you, Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, I am pleased when I saw all the devotees are cooperating together to please me. So that is what, if you want to please Prabhupada, that means we should live together, cooperate among ourselves, and then we can fulfill the purpose of our founder Acharya, the mission of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. And exactly the same instruction Srila Prabhupada gave in his last days. Srila Prabhupada gave the famous instruction that the taste of your love for me will be shown when you cooperate among yourselves when I left this body. So during that 3 days when Prabhupada was there in Atlanta, and Tamal Krishna Goswami was introducing all these young people, brahmacharis, to Srila Prabhupada. And one brahmachari asked Srila Prabhupada, what pleases you most, Srila Prabhupada? And there was some silence for a minute. And then Prabhupada said that, he said that, if you love Krishna, if you love Krishna, you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that is the instruction for all of us from Srila Prabhupada. If we love Krishna, we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So because today the situation is that the people start practicing Hare Krishna Mahamantra, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and the Maya is so strong that after some time they leave chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada said that if you love Krishna, always chant Hare Krishna. So that is the Prabhupada's instruction for all of us. So all Prachetas, they pleased Krishna, Vishnu. First thing that they were very friendly among themselves. The second thing that they engaged in one occupation. And what was the one occupation? By surfing internet on the cell phone. No, they all were engaged in one activity. What was the one activity? They engaged in a devotional service of the Lord. That should be the purpose of our life. The Savai Pumsa Paro Dharma, Yathor Bhakti Adhoksade, Ahituki Apratyata, Yatma Suprastati. The ultimate purpose of the human beings, the ultimate purpose of the human form of life is to engage in the service of Lord and to please Haritoshanam. If we don't do that, Srama Evaihi Kevalam, then we are just engaging all the activities, but we are not really fulfilling the purpose of the human form of life. And the third thing, Vishnu said, Krishna said that you have pleased me because you have accepted the order of your father and Lord Shiva. And you executed that. So that means, what is it for all of us? That we must have the faith in instruction given by spiritual master or our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Not only having faith, but we must execute that. Sometimes what happened, we may have say that, okay, once I met one person and then he said that you practice Krishna consciousness. He said, no, I actually follow Buddha principle. And what is the core principle of Lord Buddha? Ahimsa. And then I noticed that he was eating non-veg on every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then what is the principle that we are following when we say that we follow Lord Buddha? When we say we are following Lord Buddha's principle, core principle is Ahimsa. So similarly, when we say that we follow Srila Prabhupada, what is the core principle that Srila Prabhupada has given for all of us? Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 times and follow the core regulative principle. So if we read the whole Srila Prabhupada books, whether it's the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita or any chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada will come to the conclusion that you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra and you perfect your life by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That is the core instruction given by Srila Prabhupada. So similarly, so here example, because we want example, seeing in believing, right? Believing in seeing. So we believe what we see. So here Prachetas were able to please Krishna by following 3 core things. And the first thing that they were living friends, among themselves, very cooperative relationship. Second thing is that they were engaged in one activity, that is the devotional service of Lord Krishna, and they follow and have faith in the instructions of their father and the spiritual master, Lord Shiva. Now, the Lord blesses devotees by giving all the facilities. It's very wonderful. Now, here it is said that thereafter you will develop an unadulterated devotional service. Now, thereafter means what is the previous shloka? The previous shloka is so nice and very interesting. The Lord then blessed all the Prachetas, which we hanker all the time, saying, my dear princess, by my mercy, you can enjoy all the facilities of this world as well as the heavenly world. Indeed, you can enjoy all of them without hindrance and with full strength for 1 million celestial years. How many years? 1 million years. Now it's so interesting because we all look for that Krishna should bless all of us like this, right? You may enjoy in this Bangalore for 50 years or 60 years. Of course, you have 10 million years of celestial years. And what is that? 1 million rather. So if you do the earthly calculation, what is this 1 million years on earthly planets? One day of the celestial planets is equal to 1 year on this earthly planet. Then imagine 1 million, that's a 10 lakh into 365. That many years they were happily enjoying on our heavenly planets and the situation, the facilities, all the facilities. Not only that, without any hindrance. First of all, we have that core desire. If you open that, if you do the bisection here, we'll see that the core desire that we have, we want to enjoy this material world. And one day, may Lord Krishna bless all of us like this, that you may enjoy all this material facility without any hindrance. And what is the hindrance that we have? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. But all these prachetas, they did not have any of this such hindrance. They were all the time youthful. There was no corona, no Vyadhi, Janma, there is no Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and 10 lakhs into 365 years. I don't know how many zeros. So that many years without any hindrance, they were enjoying that. Sometimes we think, will we get any times like this, such a best of both the worlds? One in the spiritual world as well as in this material, long enjoyment in this material world and going to the spiritual world, both so nice, right? Happy situation, win-win situation, enjoy the material world as well as at the end of enjoying this material, go to the spiritual world. Now, the question may arise, why Lord Krishna is giving such a blessing for prachetas, right? We always say that we don't want such a blessing where we enjoy, we get into this enjoyment of this material world. What is your thought? Why did Krishna give such a blessings to prachetas? And that too, 10 lakhs into 365 years and without any hindrance. Can you imagine uncessant enjoyment of material world, which we are longing for that? What could be the reason that Lord Krishna gives such a blessing? Because we always say, don't give such a blessing that if we get stuck into this material enjoyment, there's hardly any chance that we get out of that. Any thought here?
They are qualified.
They are qualified. Fantastic. They are qualified.
They have got that instruction to create progeny from their father.
So they got the instruction to create the progeny. So they were qualified. They had such an instruction. Okay, very good. Krishna, huh? They will not misuse. Fantastic. They will not misuse. What if Krishna gives such a blessing to all of us? What would happen? We'll forget Krishna tomorrow. What tomorrow? We'll forget next moment. Then enjoy party. We will be completely lost in the cycle of enjoyment and we'll forget Krishna. Because why we come to Krishna? Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukrito arjuna artho jidnasu arthati jnani cha bharatarsha. Because we need money, we are difficult in situation. That's why we come to Krishna. That is, but if we have everything, what is the need to go to Krishna? We don't need anything. We need Krishna because we have problems, we have difficulties, and we go to Krishna, all our problems will be resolved. So now, what is the difference between Lord Krishna's blessing and the demigod's sanction, right? This is an interesting question that may be arised here. Because when the demigod give blessing, they give blessings as whatever the person asks. They don't see the qualification. They don't see the qualification. Just like, for example, the small kids, they go to the neighbors or they go to the relatives, and as soon as they cry, the neighbors or the relatives, they will give chocolate. But when they come to parents, do the parents give chocolate? No, because they know that it is not beneficial for them. So similarly, when devatas, mother is telling to child, look at that, see that, not real chocolate. So when devatas are giving, sanctioning the benediction, they are not seeing the qualification. Second thing, that whether it is beneficial to that living entity or not. And third thing is that when Krishna is giving instruction, it is making sure that there will be purification of the heart, and he has no more desire to enjoy the material world. Any example of that? Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was looking for something great kingdom than his great grandfather, but he went to Krishna when he saw Sakshat Darshan, and he said, I was so foolish that as I was asking for the broken pieces of glasses, when I saw the gem in front of me, I don't want anything. So that is the difference between Lord's sanction versus the demigod sanction. The Lord's benediction that it makes sure that we get purified and we have no more desire to enjoy this material world. Now we'll see that that we already discussed, but if this blessing is given to unmature person, what would happen? Prabhupada said, sometimes the applause will come to us, and Prabhupada said, what? Krishna will give the whole planet to all of us. But what is the use of the that if he gives the whole planet? Because we will forget Krishna and we will fall down. So what is the challenges that if the blessing is given to unmatured person? What are the challenges that if the blessing is given to unmatured person?
Misuse.
Misuse. Again, will destroy what is beneficial for all of us. It creates troubles. It will troublesome situation. We think that we would enjoy these facilities, but actually by enjoying the material sense gratification, यही संस्पर्श जब होगा, 5.2 दुःख योन एवति आदि अंतवंतकं न तेषु रमते बुधा. If we enjoy in the sense gratification, initially it appears like a amruta nectar, but at the end, the same cause or the source which was giving the happiness becomes the source of our misery. Dukkha yona evate, because it has a adi and it has a anta. Adi antavanta kamde nateshu ramate buddha. The intelligent person will not engage in such a material sense gratification. So it may happen to all of us, just like it happened to Prachetas, but are we qualified to receive such a benediction? Because in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, Daivi Hisha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya. It's very difficult. Transcendenting the modes of material nature is very difficult. Our heart is too attached to the sense gratification. Bhogeshwara Prasattan Daya Purutta Chitsa Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samodham. This material attachment is so strong, so we will forget that. During Prabhupada writes in the Purport, during one lifetime, the materialist engages in acquiring land, money, friends, power, knowledge, everything, so on. And he wants to go to the heavenly planets to enjoy that. But we forget that at the end of all this material enjoyment, the result is that we will again come back into this material world and Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshan. But what happened if such a blessing is given to the pure devotee? What happens? Janma sarthaka kare karapara upakar. So if they are blessed, they will help to propagate the mission of Krishna. Okay, very good.
They know the proper use of the benediction.
Proper use of that. For example, now the misuse of what happens. Suppose if person who is not matured, if he has given lot of money, we see on this now people are, I think I assume that people have a lot of money nowadays. And if you see that the misuse of that money, because we don't have the proper knowledge how to use this Krishna's Lakshmi, Krishna's energy in the proper service. So if you don't have the proper intelligence and knowledge, there's every chance that we'll misuse. But opposite to that, that when the blessing is given to the pure devotee, they would actually make sure that they are matured, they will engage in a devotional service, and they will not become attached. They will utilize everything in the service of Krishna, because they know that Kamala Dala Jila Jivana Kalamala, because they know the pleasures and the distress of this world is like the drop of water on the lotus leaf. The lotus leaf is like very greasy. So if you put anything on that, it will glide down that. There will be no any friction, so it would not stay there. So they know that the life in this material world is like Jivana Kalamala. It's very flickering. We don't know what will happen to the next time. And devotee is both transcendental to the happiness as well as distress. In fact, the principle that they use in this material world, even if they are in this material world, is that Yukta Vairagya. Anasaktasya Vishan Yathartham Yukunjate Nirbandham Krishna Sambandham Yukta Vairagya, which the Rupa Goswami said that they utilize everything in the service of Lord Sri Krishna. Now the question comes, coming back to the Prachetas, why Lord Krishna said that you will enjoy all the facilities, enjoy. Now how can we practice Krishna consciousness and at the same time enjoy all the facilities in the material world? How is it possible? It appears to be contrary, right? You cannot enjoy all the facilities and at the same time be in Krishna consciousness.
We can use it in the name of Krishna and then for the service of Krishna.
So we'll use in the service of Krishna. Very good. Any other thought?
I think the anything is not attached. So that's pure love for the Krishna. So anyway, he will enjoy when it's materialistic or anything because he's completely into the Krishna.
Okay. So because they are transcendental to this happiness and distress, so they will not enjoy. And the thing is that they will use Yukta Vairagya, utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. For example, suppose if you have ornament and if we use that ornament to decorate ourselves, that is the sense gratification. What would happen if we do that? It will create the competition among the others, and it will create enviousness. But the same ornaments, when we use in the service of Lord Krishna, we become very pleased and happy. And that is how we can synthesize that. How can you be spiritual at the same time enjoy the facilities given by Krishna? That by utilizing the principle of Yukta Vairagya, utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. The example that comes to our mind is Chitraketu person, right? When Chitraketu, he was actually went to the upper planetary systems and he saw that Mother Parvati was sitting on the lap of Lord Shiva. And when he saw that and he laughed, so and then Mother Parvati couldn't tolerate that and then she cursed him. And then Lord Shiva tells a very wonderful shloka. What is that shloka? Narayana paraha sarve na kutascha vivati swarga apavarga na keshu api tulyartha darshina. Because the devotees are solely engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they have no fear of any condition, whether swarga, apavarga or naraka. They have no fear because they utilize everything in the service of Krishna. And that is why, even if you are given the facility, that then definitely they will make sure that they utilize everything in the service of Krishna. And that's why Krishna made sure that he has given this facility. Another example where from Bhagavatam toward the second part of 10th canto, it is said that it is given that Sudama Vipra, right? Lord Krishna has given him golden palace. He was not attached to that. In fact, he would sleep on the floor instead of sitting on the golden couch or golden bed. He would sleep on the floor, golden floor, or the simple mat, because he was not attached to that. So, if we utilize everything in this world in the service of the Lord, and that is the wonderful things we should do. If you do anything other than that, it would unnecessarily create the reactions, and then we will actually get bondage into this concept. So that actually tells us what is the real happiness. In Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam tells us what is the real enjoyment. The real enjoyment is utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. The shloka that comes, Rishikena Saropadi Minimuktam Tat Paratvin and Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. That is the real enjoyment. The real enjoyment is that when we engage ourselves in the service of Lord Sri Krishna, automatically we actually get benefited, we get satisfaction, we get happiness. But if we try to enjoy independent of Krishna, then Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, we are sure that we will definitely, just like in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto, the shloka comes that if we water the roots, automatically all the branches, all the twigs and everything get nourished. So similarly, if we engage ourselves in the service of Lord Sri Krishna, everything gets nourished and everything becomes a happy situation for all of us. So that is why when Lord Krishna said that you enjoy all the facilities for 1 million years, that's a 10 lakh years, 365 of our planet, with all full strength and without any hindrance. But the opposite to that is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, the teachings to Rupa Goswami, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atayava Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. Because no matter what happens, only one person is happy or satisfied or Shanta in this material. Who is that person? The devotee of Lord Sri Krishna. Baki Sakale Ashanta. Whether we have Bhukti, enjoyment tendency, or Mukti to get liberated, or a siddhi, to get the perfection, all these person who have some or the other desire. And since we have some desire independent of Krishna, we are sure that we become a Shanta. And only there is a possibility that we become a Shanta only when we become a Krishna Bhakta, Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. Ataiva, therefore, because he is a Nishkama. Nishkama means he has no other desire independent of Krishna. He has a desire. What is his desire? To please Krishna, to engage in Krishna's service. But he has no desire which is independent of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes in the chapter of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, 72 shloka, where it is said that we cannot become desireless. Because desire is the intrinsic characteristics of the soul. But how to propagate it, the vairagya, how to cultivate or how to channelize the propensity of having desire in the service of Krishna. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives what is the criteria to go back to Godhead. He says the three things. And the first thing, that when one is fixed in a devotional service, because the prachetas, they were fixed in a devotional service. So Prabhupada says that if you want to go back multiple times, 3 times it comes back to Godhead in this purport. So if you want to go back to Godhead, Prabhupada says that we must have 3 things. And what is the first thing? He said, we must engage strongly, very fixed in a devotional service. Second thing, very typical for all of us, free from all material attachment. There's some or other attached to it very strongly. And the third thing, free from all the modes of material nature, uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. Arjuna also asked the question, how can I get free from all these 3 gunas? 14.26. Mahamache ovicharena bhakti yogena sevate. So gunan samtiyata brahma bhuya ekalpati. So Krishna said that you can transcend in the modes of material nature by vicharena bhakti yogena. Determined, undeviated, single pointed focus, unalloyed. Prabhupada used this word, unalloyed. How this word came, unalloyed? When Prabhupada was in the United States, and there was a big hoarding, that was alloy. Alloy is the material engineering term where you mix 1 or 2 elements and then you develop something like just like a stainless steel. It's alloy, which is the mixture of 2 principal elements. So alloy means it's a mixture of something. And then Prabhupada said, okay, so we should have unalloyed devotion to Lord Sri Krishna. That is without any anya abhilasita shunya jnana karma dhyana. So that's why the word came, unalloyed devotional service. So if we want to go back to Godhead, how many of us would like to go back to Godhead? All of us, right? Hari. But what we should be doing, Prabhupada is giving a solution for all of us, that fixed avicharena bhakti yogena, and free from material attachment. We'll come back how to get to this material attachment, and uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. And one become fit, return to home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purport that it is very wonderful that the question may come that we have been practicing Krishna consciousness, but there are so many attachments, and it's very difficult. Mama Maya Duratya, very difficult. Maya Meta Tarandite, 7.14. So it is very difficult to work on this Maya, because this Maya is nothing but Krishna's divine energy. Mama Maya Duratya. So Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that we, Krishna conscious movement, we give opportunity to all the people to engage in Krishna activities. The Krishna activity, Prabhupada writes, that means the Bhakti Yoga, because we are acting for Krishna. But so what happens? But in our case, initially, we engage in the Krishna conscious activities, which are related to Krishna, but we don't become expert acting for Krishna. Did you get that? We become expert in doing activity, Krishna activity, but we don't focus on Krishna. We don't become expert acting for Krishna. So there are 2 different things. One is the Krishna activity and activity for Krishna. I see a lot of question marks. Activity for Krishna or the Krishna activity. So we may do activity which are related to Krishna, but we are not doing activity for Krishna. So that is the difference. So we become so expert doing activity, Krishna activity, but we are not focused, we are not expert some or other activity acting for Krishna or activities for the pleasure of Krishna. Because our heart is still contaminated. Our heart has still some or the other desire, some ulterior motive. We act for personal motive, try to fulfill through Krishna activity. Right? So we have some desire that I want to become famous. Then what we do? We do Krishna activity, like Kirtan. So then we become famous. Or do some activity. Of course, when we do some activity for Krishna, definitely there will be purification. But the purification will not be the same proportion that if we do activity for Krishna. Not only being engaged in a Krishna activity, but we should be doing activity for Krishna. And that is why Prabhupada, so we have become expert in Krishna activity, but somehow we are not experts so far. And I'm talking about myself that we are not expert for doing activity for Krishna. This because our heart is still contaminated. The material attachment is so strong. We may have left the word, but the word has not left for us. In fact, one devotee was telling one story. So it was on the bank of river Ganga. And so there were two ascetics, yogis. So they had their hermitage or whatever you call that. And one fine day, they were fighting each other. So one was pulling his hair, the other was pulling his hair, and one was pulling his beard, the other was pulling beard, and they were fighting. And there was other person from the other side, and there was a bridge. So he crossed the bridge and then he stopped both the ascetics. And he said, what happened? You see, the person said that, you know what happened? I have a straw mat, and this yogi, he went to the river and he spoiled all his feet, and he's actually trampling on my straw mat, and which is I don't like. That's why there was a fight. And the other yogi said, no, he's a telling lie. Actually, I have not done anything, and he started pulling his beard. So we may leave the word, but the word will not leave us because we have so much of attachment. We may put a dhoti tilak, we may put we may show up that we are practicing Krishna consciousness, but the word will not leave us. For example, it is said that suppose we leave this our dear friend and we go to Himalayas and they will not get a signal. After 2-3 days, we will not leave without that. We'll come back to this one. We'll come to the Bangalore, we'll get the signal. So that is the situation. We may try to show up that we have left the word, but the word will not leave us because we have that desire for enjoyment. And how does it happen? If we understand how this enjoyment happens, just like in a nectar of devotion, Rupa Goswami says that we have a desire, and when we desire, we engage into activity, and we get some reaction, and that reaction actually creates the inclination to engage in such activity again. So we have first desire, and because of that desire, we engage into the sense gratification activity, and because of that, we get a reaction, we get a sanskara. The sanskara gets so deep rooted that we wanted to enjoy again, and it creates inclination again to do the same activity again and again. So this loop repeats again and again and again and again and again and again. So that is why we may show up, we may pretend that we are actually practicing Krishna consciousness, but if we do the bisection of our core of our heart, we know that how contaminated it is, how attached that we are for the sense gratification and material enjoyment. There is a proverb in the Yugal that the proverb in Venerable Prabhupada writes that we may fast, we may pretend from fasting from water, but we drink the water by taking a dip in the river and drink the water and again come and show that I am fasting from the water. So that is the pretending that we may do that to this material to show up that we are actually fasting from water, but actually we take a dip and we enjoy that and then come back again and show that I am fasting from the water for last 2 days or whatever days. So that is the pretension that we have in a core of our heart. Now, if we have to understand what are these desires that we have, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he is giving a teaching to Rupa Goswami in 19th chapter of Madhya, this is very wonderful. He says that Kintu yadi ladara sange ute upashaka bhukti mukti vancha yata asankyatara lekha. So he says, sometimes now we are practicing devotional service. This devotional service is compared to the Bhakti Lata Bij, the creeper for Bhakti. But other than that Bhakti Lata, there are other Upashaka are there. And what are those Upashaka? Nishadhachara Kuti Niti Jiva Ahimsa Labha Puja Pratistadi Yeta Upashaka Ganam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that there are 6 Upashakas, not one, unfortunately, but 6 Upashakas. And what are those 6 Upashaka? First is Nishiddha Achara. What is the Nishiddha Achara?
Prohibited behavior.
Prohibited
Behavior.
behavior. Very good. So Srila Prabhupada, all of his purport says that we should follow the 4 regulative principles. That 4 regulative principles. If we are engaging in the 4 regulative principles, Prabhupada said that you are engaging Nishiddha Achara. So Upashaka is like there is a main plant and there are weeds. If you water, we don't know what is the weed and what is the real plant. So we keep watering that. And the previous shloka of this Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what is the watering to this Bhakti Lata Bij? What is the watering? We are as a gardener and we are watering this Bhakti Lata Bij. Pramanda Bhamite Kun Bhagyavan Jit Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata. Now we got the Bhakti Lata by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of spiritual master. As a gardener, as a Mali, how are we watering this? Sravanam and Kirtanam. Now, but we are watering this, we don't know what is the main shaka and what is a Upashaka. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling here all of us, we should know that there are something called as weed, Upashaka. And the first Upashaka, he says that is the Nishiddha Achara. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. There is a Kutinati. Kutinati is a diplomatic behavior, right? We say something, we do something, we show something. This is a Kutinati. The Prabhupada says that this Kutinati diplomatic behavior cannot satisfy Atma or soul. It cannot even satisfy the body, what to talk about soul. The culprit mind is always suspicious and our dealing should always be, Prabhupada said, Sada Sarala. Should be straightforward and approved by the Vedic literature's authorities. If we treat people with diplomatically or duplicitously, our spiritual advancement is hindered. So the second Upashaka is Kutinati. That means diplomatic behavior. Something that it's the properties of the Kali Yuga, right? That we show something hypocrite, show something and something else is there. And next is a Jiva Himsa. The third thing is a Jiva Himsa, refer to the killing of animals and other living entities. Envy of other living entities is also called, as Prabhupada says, that even if we are envious of other person, that is also called as Jiva Himsa. And why we are envious? Because we are envious of the Supreme Lord. That is the root cause of that. Since we are envious of the Ichha Dvesha Samuptena, Dvandva Muhurta Bharata, Sammoham Sargayanti, Sammoham Sarvabhutani Sargayanti Paramparam. So 7.27. Because we are envious of Krishna, we are envious of other living entities. When we see the devotee is making progress, then we actually become envious. So that is the third thing. And the next is very nice for all of us, lower material profits. As far as the profit is concerned, Srila Prabhupada said that whatever the material profit that we acquire, it must be abundant at the time of the Khali Haath aaye hai, Khali Haath jayenge. So one devotee, when he was telling very wonderful that when Narad Muni was actually crossing the forest, and we just now celebrated Ramayana. So Ratnakar, he was ready and attack Narad Muni, and he said that he has an axe and is about to kill Narad Muni, and he said that show me what you have. And now sannyasi means that you have dhoti or the pancha. He has no pocket. Why there is no pocket? Why Vedic culture has no pocket? Because when you have pocket, that means we try to acquire things, right? If there is dhoti, there is no kurta. That means it shows that we are supposed to not acquire anything, not accumulate anything. Khali haath aaye hai, khali haath jayenge. So that is that. But we are so attached to this lobha, but we don't understand that one fine day we have to leave everything. We have the story of Prabhupada in one of the purports that one king, and that king was foolish, and then he said, "You are murkha." And he said, "You take the stick and then go all over the world." And then He said, okay, so finally the point is that he cannot carry even a small things from, even a needle, you cannot carry from this material world to the spiritual world. But unfortunately, we are engaged so undeviatedly without getting tired and bored, right? It's so amazing that what is our actual nature is to engage in Krishna consciousness, become unnatural, and what is unnatural becomes so natural that we engage in these activities of lova so focused without getting tired. Did we say that today we got bored for going to the office and getting acquiring money? We never get bored. But Prabhu, give me some break because I am chanting for so long now. Give me some break. But what is a natural becomes so unnatural, and what is unnatural becomes so natural that we don't need a break. We never get tired. We never get bored for accumulating money, accumulating all these titles. We never get tired. At the age of 60 or 50 or 60, even the people have plans. And once Prabhupada gives an example like the Bengal man, he went to the doctor and said, can you extend my life for next 4 or 5 years? He said, why? Because I have unfulfilled plans. And the doctor said, no, it is not possible. How is it possible? What would have 4 5? You cannot even increase the moment. Because we never get tired for this lova, accumulation, utsa, nicha, dhairya, what is that the other shloka, the verses which are not favorable to the 6 things. Atyahara prayascha prajalpa yamagana jana sangascha lovlelo shadabir bhakti vinashyati. Atyahara, Prabhupada says atyahara means not only eating but accumulating more and more. We never get tired with that. And then puja means adoration. We get title now. Our dear Sri Gopal Prabhu always say, right? Now when you practice Krishna consciousness, people started calling us now Prabhu. And then there is a Mahaprabhu. Then when will I become a Mahaprabhu? So this is always we are aspiring this adoration that the people should give all the respect to this Yugal Kishore Das. They said this Yugal Kishore Das is a great person. And adoration is such a deep rooted. This is the Upashaka. And the last is the Pratishtha. All the titles, upadhis that we get in this material world. But Prabhupada says all this Lobha, Puja and Pratishtha, this Upashaka has one problem. They are temporary things. Whereas we leave this body, we leave all the titles, all the accumulations, everything that we leave, and when we take another body, we will again start Abakala, ABCD, right? From the zero, we have to start. So that is why everything that we get in this material world has to live here and again start from that. So what are the, just to refresh ourselves here, what are the 6 Upashakas that we have to be careful? Visita Achar, Kutinati, Jiva Himsa, Lova, Puja, and Pratishtha. So once now at least we know that these are the Upashakas, and we are not supposed to water this because we don't even sometimes understand what is the devotional service and what is the Upashaka. So now we know by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that there are Upashakas and we should be alert, we should be very careful for this. Now the question is that how to deal with this material world, being in this material world but not of this material world, surrounded by the material things, not to be pretending that I am fasting from water, but take a dip and then drink water as much you want and then come back and again drink, and that is a pretense. So the principle that anasaktasya vishayan yathartham ipuvanjante nirbandham Krishna sambandham yukta vairagya uchyate, which is nothing but taking things as per our nature and use in the service of Krishna. That is the first thing that we must practice this Yukta Vairagya. Rupa Goswami has given, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given, Srila Prabhupada has shown by his own example how to utilize everything in the service of Krishna. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was there, that time having 4-wheeler sannyasi using 4-wheeler was like never unheard, never seen that. But not only that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur actually sent his disciples to the Western countries to preach the Krishna consciousness. Because sannyasi should not cross the ocean, right? And they should not use the car, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur will actually use the Audi or whichever that time car was, that the most luxurious car that you would use in the service of Krishna, Yukta Vairagya. So now we, as a follower of Srila Prabhupada, now how do we understand what things to be taken and what things not to be taken? So that's why we need a guidance in our life. We don't understand because somebody who is deep into the ocean, and if you are deep into the blind well, he cannot come on his own. Somebody should lower the rope, and he should hold to that rope, and then he should be pulled outside of that. So similarly, if we practice on our own or whimsically, ये शास्त्रम विधि वर्षजे वर्तते काम कारता न सिद्धिम आवप्नोति न सुखम न param. That in 16.23. So if we act according to what kama karana vartate, so if we act according to our own whimsical nature, na siddhim avapnoti, na sukham, na param gatim, will not get the siddhi, will not get sukham, will not get the higher destination. So we need a guide in our life, and we have to take instruction from spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, and then we have to act on that. Somehow or the other, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have entered the palace of bhakti, but what is missing is a devotion for Krishna. Aikantika. So Prabhupada writes, Anya Abhilasita Shunyam, Jnana Karmadi Anavutta, Anukullena Krishna Anushtanam, Bhaktir Uttama. What we need is two things. What are the two things? That we should be free from all the material desire, and we should act for Krishna. Not we should engage in Krishna activity, but we should be acting for Krishna. So this ekantika means single-minded, single-pointed focus. That how can I do with Krishna? Because anushilana means favorable. So we have to act engage in Krishna activity, but for the pleasure of Krishna. Because all the demonic people, they also act in activities, but they are not acting favorable to Krishna. But Rupa Goswami tells us that we must be acting in ekantika. Ekantika means single pointed focus. Now, every morning we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. How many times we actually hear the holy name of God? We are chanting, we are doing the lip service, our mind and heart is submerged. So if we want to get rid of this tendency of the material attachment, if we have to get rid of all this upashaka, we have to be very, very focused. Ekantika, vyavasayatmika buddhi, ekehe kurunandara. If we are not focused, if we are not attentive, we are not single pointed focus, then we are actually watering the upashaka. And one day, it's just a matter of time, we will come to know that the upashakas are growing and the bhakti lata actually curtailed. The bhakti lata got withered and bhakti lata is no more present there. Actually, we did everything to water the bhakti lata fish, but ended with watering all the upashakas, and then we turn back and say, oh Krishna, here we are. We started with something else and we end with something else. So we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We want to develop a relationship with our dear Lord. But when we are chanting, it's applicable to me, maybe more than what all the great devotees here who are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so focused. But to me, for me, so when we are discussing here, it means it's instruction for me as well, and it's for me only, for purification in my heart, that how can we become ekantika, focus, single pointed focus to chanting while we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When we are chanting, we want to develop relationship with Krishna. But our Lord is so merciful. Even if we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are not attending. He is tolerant. He is tolerant for all of us. So many years, so many times, every single day, 25,000 times is tolerating all of us by still giving opportunity so that we come and become a single pointed focus. When Srila Prabhupada heard the translation from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on 2.4 on Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, Srila Prabhupada became so single pointed focus that I want to execute the instruction given by my spiritual master. So similarly for all of us, the instruction for all of us is chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But how? Ekantika, single pointed focus for the pleasure of Krishna. And so that feeling of longing should come. You see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that the painting, that is longing, is crying like a small child, and please take me to Krishna. But we are doing the lip service, and our heart and our other things are so busy that we are multitasking, and we are expert in multitasking. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Guru, Hare Krishna, Prasadam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. And we want to develop relationship with Krishna. How is it possible that we develop relationship with Krishna? If you want to develop relationship in this material world also, what we have to do, we have to invest time and energy. And if we have to develop the relationship with our Supreme Lord, we are not giving time and attention and focus. Our focus is somewhere else, and we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So let's end that. Let's take a place. Let's take a place. Let's take a strong determination that next time when I chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I would like to be ekantika, single pointed focus. I want to do for the pleasure of Krishna. I want that longing, Krishna, I cannot do alone. I need your support, Krishna. Please help me. And with that mood of completely helpless, completely lost in this material world, let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we'll do one or two mantra together. Let's have this ekantika. Let's forget everything. Let's have everything that we are doing for the pleasure of Krishna with a single pointed focus. Let's get ready. At least we'll do 2-3 rounds, 2-3 times. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Are you ready for that? Yes. So ekantika, we want to see Krishna. We are not engaging in Krishna activity, but we are engaging Krishna activity for the pleasure of Krishna. So let's offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, taking the blessings of Panchatattva, and let's start. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Hare.
Any comments, questions, correction?
Previously you said that we should do activities for Krishna. Which are those activities that we should do for Krishna?
What are those activities that we can do for Krishna? In fact, you only said that Yukta Vairagyam, right? So whatever the facilities that Krishna has given for all of us, we must utilize that in the service of Krishna. So there are two things. One is Yukta Vairagya and the other is called as Phalgu Vairagya. The Phalgu Vairagya is that pretender. So something can be utilized in the service of Krishna, but you say, no, I will not take this material things because it is not connected. But we can utilize things that can be used in the service of Krishna. We can do that activity. But Prabhupada has given a very specific instruction to all of us that chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, reading it regularly, and hearing regularly. So these are the activities that one must do, that book distribution and engaging others in the service of Krishna. Bharat Bhumi te haile, Manushya Janma Yara, Janma Sarthaka Kare, Mahaprabhu was teaching the three things very important. Nama, Jiva Daya, and Vaishnava Seva. So if somehow or the other, if we engage in these activities, our life will be successful. But again, not doing the Krishna activity and fulfilling our own desires of getting name, fame, and honor. We operation successful, but patient will be dead. So we have to do the activity which is related to Krishna, but for the pleasure of Krishna. Is that the answer?
We are so conditioned, and when we start getting into some sort of mood of getting detached, we start feeling that. Like, the mood of Sanatana Goswami and the last was totally different. They said, I'm following every time, no matter what they did. But for us, when we do something, suddenly that moves up to my explore. That itself is a sort of a ego booster for me. And how to manage that while we are moving forward from it.
So the question is that we we are in between. We are not like even if it's neither there nor here. So we are in that somewhere in between. So it's a transition zone, and where are the acharyas, great acharyas, the great acharya that we are actually representing. So they are the pure devotees, and they are perfectly situated. And but we are not there. So how do we do that? And so the thing that we discuss is that ekantika. Initially, because if you see, suppose now if you are to participate in marathon, right? We cannot directly run 41 kilometers, right? So we have to practice, we have to strengthen the muscles. So that strengthening of that muscles is what our sadhana practice is like. So beginning, we may do activities which will actually have also some results oriented, that is for the puja pratishtha, and the other one is that lava, that is the biggest one that we all kind of questions how to do that. But slowly, steadily, if you focus on Krishna conscious activity for the pleasure of Krishna, because this sanskara is not appeared within this lifestyle, this lifetime. This lifetime, say for example, we may have initially engaged in the material activities, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we started doing in the last few years. In this life itself, the major chunk of our activities was actually self-centered. Now, this is only one lifetime story, and millions of lifetimes we are away from Krishna. Can you imagine how that determination of the sanskars are so deep rooted? So now, what is the solution for Cheto Darpana Mahasaya? Devotional service. Mahamacho Vicharena Bhakti Yogina Seva. So what we have to do, we have to be Utsaha nature there. We have to have enthusiasm, patience. That even if today we may not become exactly crossed from this level to that level, but we must have patience and engage in the devotional service. And there is no other solution than chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra by that single pointed focus. Because when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, with that Hare Krishna Mahamantra, purification will happen. Otherwise, there is no other way. So, for example, if you do some other yoga, we have to first purify ourselves, and then we do that vidhi. But in bhakti, the goal and the means are same. Our goal is engaging in the bhakti. The means is also bhakti. So by engaging in the bhakti, we actually purify, and with the elevated consciousness, we again engage in a better way, and it's a circle. So that is how we can. But there is no solution other than chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said that our 99.99% of our progress depend on chanting Hare Krishna. We may become expert in many things. That is the byproduct of that. But if our basic, our core is not strengthened regularly by attempting chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then we may achieve something, but then the Upashaka is growing and the main Bhakti-lata is actually getting corrected. So chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the solution. And that too, strengthening. So initially we may do only 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, 15 times, and then we are expert. And of course, our acharyas, our founder acharyas, spiritual masters, always there. And we are here because of their blessing. And why we are chanting Bible, why we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Because Srila Prabhupada told us to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Na Shastram Vidhi Visarja Vartate Kama Karata. We are not Vartate Kama Karata. We are not doing acting on our own whimsical nature, but we are acting by the instruction. And when there is an instruction, the potency, the empowerment will also come. Just like Brahmadev gave instruction to Narada, Brahmadev gave instruction to Ratnakar or Valmiki to write Ramayana. With that instruction came the empowerment. What was the empowerment? Brahmadev said that you will be able to see all this Ram, the past times will be revealed to you. All the interaction between Ram and Mother Sita, Ram and Lakshman, Ram and all the Vanaras and Ram and all these Rakshasas, everything will be revealed to you. Not only that it will be revealed to you, you will be able to taste, you will be able to experience all their feelings and emotions when you are writing the Ramayana. So the instruction was given that you write Ramayana, but with that instruction came the potency, the empowerment that you will be able to see in each and everything what is happening. And that is why Ramayana, there is some portion of Ramayana is a past tense and some portion of Ramayana is a future tense. And Brahmadev said that whatever you are going to write, it become a true. Not even a single word will become a false. So that is the potency that we, because we follow the instructions given by Brahmadev. And that is why we saw that why Lord Vishnu was pleased with Pracheta, because they have a faith in the instruction of spiritual master and they executed with the faith. When did we come here? Because of Shiva. I just Chandran go. Jew inside. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yes, right. The last one, what is that you keep through? I missed. I thought you were, I was anticipating that you are stamping on the ants and all the things, knowingly and unknowingly. Of course, Geo says, what about that? Even while eating, we are actually, so that's why we offer Krishna. So, of course, it is not only the activity that matters, but the consciousness behind that activity. So, if you are voluntarily going and teaching, that are of course not supposed to do that at all, but some of the activities are unavoidable. And some of the activities which can be avoided. For sure. Now, for example, plucking the vegetables. It is unavoidable. We cannot serve. So we have to do that. But how we purify that? Because whether we do it knowingly or unknowingly, we are sure to get reaction. For example, small child with ignorance. Ignorance is not a bliss. The people say that ignorance is a bliss. Actually, it's not a bliss. If it's a bliss, the small child keeping hand on the fire, will it burn? It will hurt him or not? Right? Honestly, if you put your hand on the fire, what will happen? You burn your hand, right? Whether you know that there is a disadvantage or there is going to hurt, whether you know or don't know, there is a reaction. But what happens is the consciousness behind that activity will make that proportion of that reaction accordingly. So anyway, it is avoidable. It is unavoidable. But what is thing that consciously not doing that Jiva Himsa? Jiva Himsa Prabhupada doesn't only say that killing, even enemies of other living entities also. So now if we open that, we'll see that how much Jiva Himsa we are doing actually. So we have to be careful, alert, and I see Nagaraj Prabhu giving a good smile there. So but we have to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So we have to be very careful and alert, not to engage into such activities. Yes, we have some. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, you are audible. Couple of years ago. That is true. Absolutely true.
So every time I tell him, all the guru lists come to me. Almost like become the habit. Like as soon as exactly like one time, all the guru, it's like my face. So let's say if you're sitting in front of that or some things will come to mind.
When we are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we will think of office. But when you are in office, we never think of Krishna. So contrary. So that is what happens, and especially today. So once what happened, one devotee, he started practicing Krishna consciousness and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra early, getting up early in the morning, and he was making very good progress in the office. And somebody asked, what is the rahasya, what is the secret of your success? He said, you know what happens? while chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the morning, I make a plan. And I execute that plan so rigorously in the office and dedicated the morning, Brahma Muhurta time, because if you see all the great CEOs and so they get up in the morning and they because that's a Brahma Muhurta time. So he was focusing and he was making more progress in the material life. So the practical thing is that because what happened, mind is not, there is no taste for Krishna consciousness. And because there is no taste for Krishna consciousness, mind wants to get something where he gets a taste. And this is something that he gets a taste, especially our friend, so much of taste, no tiredness. Anytime we get to that, so much of taste. Such a taste, imagine if you have such a taste for Krishna consciousness, our life will be successful. So because we don't have the taste for Krishna consciousness, that's why mind is finding the different ways. So one of the practical things that if to-do list comes, what I heard from especially Mahatma Das Prabhu and also other devotees, he said that you take a paper and pen. Today I heard multiple times, not different, because we hear and that's what we repeat here. So take a pen and paper and write down that, okay, so I want to, today I want to send mail to customer, client. Okay, you write down that. And then tell mind that now next time please don't tell, I already written that. So we are assuring mind that okay, whatever the activity that you are alerting me, I have written there. Please be assured that I will do after, not now, but after 9 o'clock, after I finish my time. And when Gurujan Das Prabhuji, when he was here, actually he said that let's try to hear at least one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra during 108 times. And he said, I mean, his statement was very profound. He said, even if you are hearing one time, it is still very good progress. So let's at least begin with that. That is what we did, a small exercise of let's hear at least once. Because the holy name is so Abhinnato Nam Namena Padma. Holy name is so powerful. But unfortunately, there is no other way that we can do, but we can, so that mind, we have to assure mind that okay, I will take care of it. But first you help me. You help me focusing on holy name, and then I will help you. So then you put all these two minutes so that next time you will not do that. You will see that many devotees have pen and paper at that time. So they will write that as soon as the mind will. And exactly same time as you rightly say that mind will have something which you have not thought of during the whole day. Exactly that time it will come on and will say, you have to do these things. So because mind doesn't have the taste for the holy name. From the, so yeah, somebody has here some question. There are two parallel. Okay, so we'll end here. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaman. I pray that you all please pray for me that I will have that ekantika bhakti where I can single point is chant the name of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Thank you for such a wonderful class, increasing our faith in the holy name and the devotional service of the Lord. So let's chant one more time, praying to His Grace Yugal Kishore Prabhu so that he can inspire us more and more again and again by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So there are a few announcements. So today's Prashadam is sponsored by His Grace Mahateja Narhari Prabhu on the occasion of his daughter's birthday. Is that Prabhuji here? So let's pray for him and the whole family by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, And for the pleasure of the Lord and the Srila Prabhupada, yesterday IYF devotees and brahmacharis could able to distribute 20 Mahabooks. So is there anyone coming for the first time here to our center? You can come forward. So we plan to give a small gift.
Let's welcome these all devotees by chanting Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
So we go for Narasimha.
All the newcomers, so we have every Sunday this program, so not only today, but every day. So please see if you can come every Sunday.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Thank you very much. So Prasadam will be served downstairs. So darshan will be open for after 2 minutes. So all the devotees can take darshan and go.